Hello and welcome to another Automobilista 2 video, but I wanted to do something a little bit different this time. We've done a lot of races in a lot of different series with a lot of different cars, but what I wanted to do is just show you around what the game has to offer right now, and maybe that can offer up some insights into what you guys want to see. Right now in the game, you can only do a single race and a tester. We can't do the championship or the multiplayer or the time trial. That will come later on. Bearing in mind this game is still in beta. It is early access. So in terms of the cars, we've got the ARC Camaro. We've got multiple different Caterham versions. So you've got the 620R, you've got the Academy car, the Super Light, and the Super Sport. So we've got 4 different versions of the Caterham there to play around with. We've got some really interesting Copa Classics. As I just click off that completely. Chevette, the Copa Classic B, the Puma, and the Paz. So there's quite a few Copa Classics that we can play around with, and I think they would offer up some really interesting racing, actually. You've got the Fuchsia, and I didn't play much of Automobilista 1, so I can't tell you exactly how many of these cars are in the first game. I don't know. We got the Copa Uno, as well as the Dallara F3 car. I've driven a lot of that in iRacing, so might be worth giving that a go and just seeing how it compares, really. We got the Formula Classic, Gen 1, and the Model 2. Model 1 and Model 2, so you can see the differences there. We've got the Formula Trainer, a little bit like the Formula Ford that we have in the UK, or at least we used to have. Only 100 horsepower on those things. You've got the Formula Ultimate 2019. I think this is the closest that you're going to get to a Formula 1 car in the game, essentially. These things are pretty mad, pretty wild. Then you've got the Formula V10, the Formula V12. We're starting to get into some pretty similar sort of cars there. The Formula V, which I have done a video on, but then you've also got the V-Fin, which is a pretty mad looking car. It's just the same sort of car, but with a fin on the back, as the name would suggest. The Formula Vintage, which are really, really wild-looking cars. The classic versions 1 and 2. Then we've got the Ultimate GTR, which I've also done a video on recently. Really fun little pocket rockets. Then you've got the 125cc karts. You've got the Mitsubishi Lancer, the Lancer R, and the Lancer RS. RS being the bit more racier version with the spoiler and whatnot. Then you've got the Opala Old Stock, which is a pretty interesting looking car. And then you start to get into sort of the Le Mans type cars. You've got the P1, which again I've done a video on. The P2 with the shark fin. The P3, and then the P4. Going all the way down to the bottom. Then if we look at the sprint race cars as well, I don't think I've done a video on these, but these do look really interesting. I think, no, I have done a video on this. We did it around Imola, actually, I do remember. My memory has failed me. But these are really, really fun little cars. It's the street cars here, the Ultimate Street cars, that I keep meaning to do a few laps with that I haven't as of yet. Then we've got the stock cars. I raced around the Red Bull Ring with these. These are incredibly, incredibly fun. They remind me a bit of the V8 supercars. Speaking of which, I want to do a video on the supercars, but they seem to be a little bit bugged right now. When I load into a game, some of the models don't quite load in, or when I load into a race, I should say. So I've been reluctant to do anything with the V8 supercars so far, because this game is in early access, and I don't just want to intentionally show off any bugs that need to be fixed. So hopefully that'll get addressed soon, because I do want to go for a spin with the V8s around Adelaide. We've also got the supercarts. These things are crazy. I went for a couple laps with these things. They don't really turn very well, and yeah, the power on them is pretty mad. But those essentially are the cars that we have right now. When it comes to circuits, we've got quite a few, actually. Some of which you'll be familiar with, some of which you won't. You've got Adelaide, which I think is a, you'll probably be more familiar with that from old school Formula One. I think the historic version, sort of Ayrton Senna days, I think they used to race around Adelaide. But then I think the supercars race around Adelaide as well. Azure Circuit is just Monaco. Brands Hatch, Caldwell Park are some nice little UK tracks. Campo Grande, I can't say I'm that familiar with. That's in Brazil. We got Cascavel, Curitiba. I'm probably butchering these Brazilian names as well, and Cavelo. Bearing in mind, this game is made by Brazilian developers, so there's going to be a lot of Brazilian tracks. Donington Park, of course, beautiful track. Gianna Ibarra Imola, which is beautiful. Interlagos, probably one of the most famous Brazilian tracks. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Jerez. Kansai, Kyalami, which doesn't get a lot of love, but it's a brilliant track in South Africa. The Londring. Some of these as well, when you skim over them, you won't know what they are because they have different names rather than the names you'll expect it to be, but it's probably a track that you'll know. Lots of these as well got multiple different versions, including a karting version on this one as well. Montreal is Canada, Gilles Villeneuve circuit. You've got the current Formula One layout, if you like, and then the historic version. I said this in my video the other day, but there's sort of a kink here in the straight. You can see it. And then the last chicane is a lot lighter. It's a lot shallower. That's not even the right word for a track, but you know what I mean. It's a lot less sharp. You could take it at a much higher speed. Then we've got Atona, Alton Park, which is another great UK track. Santa Cruz, Snetterton, again from the UK. Spielberg, which is the Red Bull Ring, essentially, which is another nice little track. Taruma, again, another Brazilian track. Velocita, Brazilian. Velo Park, and the Virginia International Raceway. Then, just going into the settings real quick, because some people might want to see these. We've got all the settings that you would expect from Project Cars. I've got all the assists off now, and I've just left it on authentic. You can change the damage type. I've got it on full damage right now, with mechanical failures, flag penalties, etc. Right now, I've got the HUD on light, but you can have it completely off, or you can have the full or just the telemetry. The light basically gives you just a little bit of tire data and gear data, and that's off on the right-hand side for me, so you don't even really see it. Driving line turn indicator. There's also a spotter and a race engineer that you can have turned on if you want to. I've tried the proximity indicator a little bit, but I'm not particularly in love with it, so I'll probably keep that off. I won't go through the visual effects because we know the game looks good. There's nothing much to that, and you're not going to notice too much difference in compared to Project Cars 2, really. So the graphic settings are pretty much the same. In terms of the force feedback, again, very similar to Project Cars 2. You're not going to notice too much difference here. I've got it on raw currently, but I'm still sort of tweaking around with some of my settings. What you can do is you can change the FOV of all the cameras. This massively depends on the setup you've got going on, but you can do that. Very similar to Project Cars 2, and you can change the the helmet leaning, the camera leaning, the screen shake, and whatnot as well. Audio I found in this game was incredibly loud. I've got my master volume on 11, but it still seems insanely loud, even though I've got it that low. So probably some tweaking needs to be done, maybe there a little bit. But overall, the settings right now are relatively basic, which is what you would possibly expect, but that's going to be expanded upon in time, no doubt. I've been impressed with what I've played from Automobilista so far. I think the core gameplay, which is what you would come to this game for, is really good. I'm not the most experienced racer, but the cars feel nice to me. They feel different from Project Cars 2 in the sense of Project Cars 2 was very floaty. Some of the cars felt like they were on ice. They were very difficult to control. Whereas even though you've got cars with lots of horsepower, rear-wheel drive in this game, I feel as though they're a lot more predictable. They do what I expect them to do. and that makes a big difference. So my experience so far, I haven't been through every single car, and I'm not a professional racer, but what I've played so far, I've enjoyed. I want to see exactly what they're going to do with the multiplayer aspect of the game as well. It was one of the things that let Project Cars 2 down, but the core racing so far, I've enjoyed. So I'll keep trying out a few different combinations of cars and tracks and see how we get on. So I hope you've enjoyed this video just to get an idea of what we've got access to in this game right now. If there's anything in particular you want to see, let me know, and I'll do my best to get it to you. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.